A lot of us know, as it says in the scriptures, lean not on your own understanding. And it's the things you least expect in life that you're like, God, really, you want me to do this? You're like, God's like, yes. I'm like, oh, okay. But you might not necessarily think or plan to have done that thing. You know what I mean? I'm a walking testament. I'm the kind of guy that, like, throughout my life, to see if something had truthness into it. I was like, when I was first coming into the truth, reading the Bible, I was like, okay, I'm going to follow this for a month and see what happens. Like, because I liked first thing, God pulled me out of darkness several times before that. And like, seemed like it had been a higher power, God. And I was trying to figure out if I'm going through these crazy things, I'm just going to make a bad situation positive. So I'm just going to start following principles of the Bible. And like, my life got way better. Didn't necessarily get easier, but it had gotten better through time and effort. And I got my happiness and my joy way up. And I grew in wisdom in ways that I couldn't comprehend in a sense. It's just, now basically I sought the Lord and I received wisdom. And I'm a walking testimony. I'm just always been a curious guy. And I tell you what happened to me, and I guess I've become very experimental in the sense that I'm going to see if something works, and it does. And how this relates to the truth is, like, it's like those seeds smaller than a mustard seed, you know, like, faith the size of a mustard seed inside you that could grow so much. And all it takes is that one seed. And that's what happened to me. I've always thought outside the box. It's never really impressed the world too much. Didn't really like the world too much. Just, I love people, I love things, you know, but like, just all led me to this path, you know. The video I posted yesterday about, like, I never thought I'd be following God. I just always had questions since I was like 5, 6, 7 years old of like, what happens after we die? And it's just, of course, you ask your parents that, you know, peers, and it's like, some people say, oh, all goes black. Oh, you go to heaven. Then when we get older, you have like these know-it-all, annoying atheists who are like saying God does not exist and stuff. And I was reading the Bible recently, and it talked about that a foolish man will say God is not real. It says that in the Bible. Like, a foolish man will say there's no God. But a lot of these, it also said too that a lot of these people that are unbelievers, and I mean, we've all had doubts, like when we were young, like sometimes someone that doesn't know any better can receive information from God 100%. They learn from their mistakes. They have a humble heart and they're a good person. They could receive information. But the people that like criticize other people for following the light, following Jesus Christ, following the light of the world, right? And they blasphemize other people, say blasphemous things to other people. they can't, those people can't receive knowledge. They've already hardened their hearts. A lot of things are kind of set in stone for them unless they make big time changes. These are the people you really gotta watch out for too, like that. These are the most foolish, ignorant people you come across in your whole life. Like, I'm sure you encounter these people at school, workplace, or whatever, but like these are like the epitome of toxicity. It's just the people that say the most blasphemous things, and like they're people. These people aren't saying it out of ignorance, because these people are actually smart. They, deep down, they might know better, but they can't receive that information because they've hardened their hearts, and God has set them up to be like, we all have free will, right? But a foolish man can't comprehend the wisdom of God's kingdom. Of course, anyone could change, anyone could repent, you know. No one's better than the next person, right? But these people, it's a dangerous territory for them when they're discouraging people. If they're discouraging their children too, like there's parents out there that discourage their children in so many ways, putting them on all these stupid ADHD medications in first grade to alter their brain chemistry to make them feel like a zombie. And they say these kids, God's not real, trust the science, like all this stuff. And it's just like, I just feel, at this point, I feel sorry for those people, you know. And Jesus said it's better for a millstone to be hung around your neck than to, yeah, it's better for a millstone to be hung around your neck than to make one of my little ones fall or something. I don't remember the exact verse, but something like that. Better for a millstone to be hung around your neck than if you let my little one stumble or fall or something like that. It's crazy. Like, I remember when people told me like this, the amount, I didn't come from an atheist family per se, came from a kind of lukewarmish Catholic family in ways. I just didn't really know information, even though I was like quote unquote, you know, Catholic at the time, right? I just remember when just hearing words of like God's not real, and just, it's like when people higher up are trying to like cause like kids to stumble and fall, like especially if like, because kids are smart, they pick up on when things aren't right. When adults try to make their kids stumble, right? Then it's better for a millstone to be hung around their neck and be thrown into the sea. Like, it's so important that we train up children for when they're young, you know? Super, super important. But we have to have we gotta have humble hearts, and it's a beautiful thing too, like I remember when I was reading the Bible verses, like it's that one verse I talk about a lot, like reference a lot of my videos. It's like Jesus' commandments, like loving one another as I loved you. Unless you become born again, you cannot see the kingdom of heaven. And just like reading these verses, the Psalms, like God, like, don't remember where quite this one verse I'm about to say is from. Is to seek me with all your heart and all your strength. I'll never leave nor forsake you. This beautiful verses like that. This, you know, it gave me so much just joy reading that. Like, and I've read books before this, like, but reading the Bible in particular, like reading like the New Testament, like Old Testament Psalms, like reading John. It gave me so much joy, like, and it's like I never felt that from reading a book before. I never. And the thing is, like, I was in a position where I felt like I was just seeking it, but I was just trying to seek the light, you know. I was just going through my day, reading it, and just a lot of the things I went through, I've been through as a kid, that I've seen, it all made sense. Like, it all made, like, evil communications corrupt good manners. Man, that's been knowledge right there, right? Evil communications corrupt good manners. If I had known that at 13, man, my life would have been so much better. It would have changed. Or it's like, there's verses. It's kind of funny how people say that, our ancestors were barbaric and they were stupid, but like a lot of people that like lived way back then had a lot of wisdom. Not everyone, of course. Humans haven't really changed much in a lot of ways, but there's knowledge in old ways for sure, and especially in Bible's a very old book. New Testament's been around for Old Testament's been around for a really long time, and New Testament, really long time too. I describe a lot of, like I said, I'm a walking testimony, whatever you want to call it. I experienced these things. I've gone through things of, it seems like it kind of lines up with when you're following God, and just when you, even like I said, when I was just trying to experiment and see what happens if I follow the Bible for a month. It's like I'm the experiment testament, you know, but like that's what I used to think of. I'm going to try this out and see what happens, you know. It's like, and then like I've allowed myself to become more open to things, and I've always been pretty, I'd say, more humble than I thought, I guess, like in a good way. I think thinking of the school system is like people that are there just to tear you down and to break you down, where it's like it's impossible to like learn and retain information when you're just like, if you make a mistake, people criticize you, but like it's not like, and then like compared to most people, it's like, man, I could definitely could be more. And I just thought I was just trying to do the right thing, just trying to be the light in the world, not really thinking too much of things. Get some water. You think something when you're that sparkling water, peach flavored. Live in the South, well in Texas, so you got peaches, different kinds of trees. A lot of fruit grows in Texas. You got cheap meat and relatively cheap fruit. Makes a lot of I used to think a lot of people were like me when I was a kid. I thought I was just like the average kid, and I was pretty much. I was like a good, kind-hearted kid. I was a troublemaker. I was a misfit, you know. But my main point is I thought people had thought like I did, and I learned that just wasn't true. And I stood out amongst the crowd, and I didn't really realize, you know, that I had like a higher calling, a higher anointing. I would say I struggled probably more in a lot of ways than the average kid. I can humbly say that. I'm not saying that like there's kids that struggle way more than me. Some kids are in wheelchairs. Some kids have crazy medical issues. I don't mean like in terms of like this. Yes, there are kids that like struggled worse than me, 100%. I just mean like in the school system fitting in, just like there always seemed to be such a huge disconnect between me, teachers, and this how I learn, how I went about things, right? Like every single time I would study. I had so much like gifts. But like, so here's the thing. I do things over and over again for me to retain information. Like I got ADHD, and here's the thing. I could pay attention to things that I'm interested in, no problem. But a lot of schoolwork I found dumb, and I didn't really pay attention. But how I maintain or retain information, I just do things over and over again. And I try to like I just can't be in environments where people are just constantly discouraging me, tearing me down. This like, whenever like I got a question wrong in school, teachers would just bombard me with this like yelling at me and just like being rude, and just like they could never like, they're so egotistical and they're very narcissistic, and they just couldn't really. I kind of learned a lot of things on my own, and it's weird. Like there's always this big disconnect of me and these teachers of how I kind of went about things, and it's just like I felt like there's no fitting in that regard. Like, hi guys, and I really didn't feel that there was a way. It's like that when you have that disconnect, it definitely sets you out from the crowd. And there's more things too. More things. Everyone always like, I had such a big, I was I had a surrounding, I was always like the odd one out in a sense, even though I had confidence, I felt good, but it's that disconnect with teachers of just like, just attacking me, and this like people just being, it's just when I was trying to share the light in the world from a young age about, because I had like a humble spirit from the beginning, like I was like receiving information. I would see things for what they are, and I would witness grown adults just trying to, wouldn't say this like, they just couldn't see the things I saw, like seeing the flaws in the system, seeing how like they were deceived. They had no context. They were in darkness, and they were pushing their dark agendas on me in the school system, you know? They were trying to project their miserable life onto me. So I immediately stood out. I didn't choose this path, you know. God set some people apart. He anoints people at different times in their life. And we all have free will. We could all choose to follow God and not to, you know. So someone could be called and they just don't, you know. I just wanted to be the average like kid and fit in, just do that. And I did fit in at times, you know, like I was good at sports, you know, I was funny, I could be the class clown, it's a lot of jokes. I had some good times, you know. But it just seems how the disconnect and how everything was just like, seemed like the world was just trying to, couldn't see the light, and I was trying to spend a lot of time trying to help people when I was like, no one could see the things I saw, like the flaws in the system and people. And I'm not perfect by any means, but like it's just the whole disconnect, and me having basic and moral compass for liking animals, for believing in God, having a strong sense of justice, you know, not being materialistic. I've never been materialistic. I just been myself, you know. And the things that I enjoy, I guess it just kind of led me to closer to God gradually, you know, because I'm never really felt like I was of this world in that sense. Of course, it's like I got close to God when I was trying, but even when I was like not trying, in a sense, my heart was desiring for always something more. I was a big wanderer, I was a big thinker. I was just longing for something more all my life, and I couldn't pinpoint it. And me getting so amped up and getting so enthusiastic about something and wondering about God, and like this, it intimidated a lot of people. Like when you're like a kid talking about, trying to like question about what happens after you die, this, that, and I mean, I'm sure every kid has that thought, but they might disregard it. I was a kid that was just like, so like, I questioned everything. That's just like, almost like it's just figuring out the mysteries of life. So even when I wasn't trying to seek God, like I was like almost like had that like anointing where God was going to use me someday, where I eventually, it led me to him when I even wasn't trying. Now I'm obviously trying to seek God now, but my heart's desires back then were in the right place for sure. But like just the world and having the wrong people around you could be a bad influence on that. But I'm gonna end this video here, guys. Take care, stay hydrated, and maybe go hit some weights or something. And yeah, curls or I don't know. Take care, guys.